mentioned, you made a reference to lobbyists. Ethics reform was one of the issues that was maybe injected into this legislative session from the outside, and has been talked about, but nothing. There's some things that have been on the table, but nothing has been passed. It doesn't look like anything will pass in this session. So I'd like to ask all of you: is transparency enough, as a lot of our legislative leaders claim? Do you support other measures to augment that transparency? And specifically, do you support a $100 limit on gifts from lobbyists to legislators? And I believe we go Drew, Josh, Hunter this time.
Kyle, you mentioned transparency. I got to tell you, folks, ladies and gentlemen, integrity is the way I define transparency. Right now, you either have integrity or you don't have integrity. And we've been in the top 10 as a state in our ethics. And we're now close to the last. I believe we're 48th, 49th, depends what Kyle's written. But we're pretty close. I decide. And, so for me, growing up in a retail furniture company, you know, I'd walk in the store and my mother and father, grandfather and grandmother would have big letters that said character. You know, you either have it or you don't. Character is what you have behind closed doors when nobody's looking. And, you know, I don't mean to repeat myself, but I've taken no money from lobbyists. Not one nickel. I've put my own money into this campaign, or my own friends have donated to it. There's a lot to be said about that when you look at a disclosure statement about who I'm running against and about where we are on the ethics downtown. So I'd encourage you to consider me, you know, as the business guy. Thank you.
As the former vice chairman of the State Ethics Commission, I think this is a critical issue, and it's because there's enough questions going around about Georgia and ethics that we must address it. That's why in early January, before the General Assembly even got into session, I came out with an ethics reform proposal. Number one, I pledge to you that I will not accept gifts of $100 from any registered lobbyist. That is what a lot of folks have called for, and it's why I've earned support from people within the Tea Party who have been pushing that all along. The second thing, we need to fund the State Ethics Commission. Right now, the reason, Kyle, you wrote about this recently, the servers have been down, is because the equipment they have is dated, and it's going to take about $200,000 minimum to get it fixed and upgraded. I've been there, I've seen that experience. And the third thing that I pledged is giving the State Ethics Commission rulemaking authority so that it has the freedom of every other state agency to start addressing these issues within its own authority and moving forward on that. Now, I will tell you, I have money from associations that have supported my campaign, and I'm not ashamed of that. When the Georgia Dental Association provides me a campaign check, I'm very proud that I've earned the support of dentists, or the Georgia Healthcare Association of nursing homes. And it's because they've worked with me and they've seen the work that I have in the General Assembly. And I'm not going to apologize for the fact that I've gained support from people I've worked with, and I'm not going to apologize that they've got the confidence in me. I too got my own money in this race. I don't think that really is a factor, and I put my ethics platform up against anybody.
Ethics is obviously very important, but I think the number one thing, and I'm not kicking the ball back to the folks, but I will say the number one thing to make sure ethics is right is to elect ethical people. And, you know, transparency keeps ethics out front because we know exactly what the lobbyists are doing because it's all out for us. So if somebody's got a problem with the Speaker of the House having a $17,000 trip, well, then they can vote him out because now you know what they're spending. Of course, I am for reducing the influence of lobbyists on our political discourse, both in Washington and in the state of Georgia. My worry with a waving the banner saying we're going to pledge to do a $100 gift is that all that'll go under the table. And what'll end up happening is, like Josh mentioned, he's gotten a lot of money from PACs and lobbyists, but so they're on his campaign disclosure. He's received the money instead of them giving a gift that's transparent. I think if you push the $100 limit down to the folks, they're only going to show that they got $100 or less from the lobbyists, but they'll have a lot more money in their campaign coffers from the organizations those lobbyists represent. So transparency keeps it all out, so we know. And I worry about the $100 gift limit subverting all the behavior that we would like to see transparent. So, but personally, I am for a $100 gift limit.